Weeble, Weeble. Hold your nose, crypto. Hold it. You about to go scuba diving. We're going to the land down under. This is nasty work. This is nasty work, man. I have such good news, though. Right? Such good news. Such good news. Bro, why do you spamming, boy? I bought calls on in strategy today. No, you're not, man. Well, it depends on how long you got out, okay? And the reason being is because we know what happened. Like we know what happens after max fear is implemented, okay? Especially in a market where you see like, yeah, we could have a cool up here, which we'll be talking about, okay? Yeah, we could. I mean, if you look how crazy the market's been going. Like we could have a cool up here. Like, come on now, that just makes sense. But when you have the Qs doing this, going vertical, right? And Bitcoin and crypto hasn't gotten any of that love just yet. They will. They will. And it's gonna be so funny when we have people cheering and cheering and cheering and being like, "Oh, Bitcoin's back." Yada yada yada, okay? And I think that's gonna take place. Okay? Now when, where? I think very soon. I don't think it's gonna take too long, okay? But this time right now is so important because you're able to get, okay, just like when the Iran war was happening, okay, just like when we were finally getting that dump to the downside, like you guys see right here, this steep drop, which I believe Bitcoin is in right now, this steep drop from the Iran war where we went, the Q's at 590, it went all the way down to 560. Okay, and then we got the reversal of a lifetime. This is where max fear happens. This is where money is made tremendously. Okay, tremendous money is to be made on these steep drop downs. Okay, so you could either be fearful, you could either think this is going to zero, right? You could either think this is going to zero, or you can start positioning yourself for the upside move. Okay, because it is taking liquidity out, it is getting people bearish, right? It's giving really it's giving an opportunity. It's giving an opportunity. Okay, so that's what we're gonna be talking about today. We're gonna be looking at a few stocks. My head hurts. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, man, if you're in the Discord, like you knew, like first of all, we've been calling this rally to a T. Okay, to a T. Like we were first on the round where like we told you it was going to all time highs. We told you the Q was getting to 750. The Q's at 750. It went to 750. I believe a pullback could be possible here very soon, but like some of y'all gonna be banging your head against the wall for not taking some profits. Okay, we like if you just look at what we've been doing in the Discord and what I think a lot of maybe I don't know a lot of people, but just what we've been doing in general, it's just been absolutely like this is just fake. It's fake how crazy it's been going. Okay, this was 1 week ago. This was last week, like 14-0 in the span of 2 weeks. You don't get stuff like that. Okay, so there's too much money being made. No, I was like, there's probably is too much money being made. Like some people just taking their money out. Like they're like the Q's rallied so like look how hard it rallied. Okay, and now what we're actually seeing is some hidden or some bear divergence. Okay, now what is bear divergence? It's where you get something like this where this is making a higher high, and this is actually making a lower high. Now when is the last time that happened? I can show you multiple instances on the Qs where it happened, but it happened also right here where you got this higher high, right? This higher high right here, and then this made a lower high, and then you finally got that dip. This was like a $30 dip almost. A $30 dip from 721 all the way to 696. Okay, so and this is actually a steeper bear divergence. Okay, where you're like this thing couldn't even get above the peak right here. You understand? So just massive bear divergence that is forming on the Q. So I wouldn't be. What needs to happen right here is either we consolidate for a little bit and the everything catches up, or we could just get a steep drop down, create a hidden bull divergence, which I would love to see, which happened during this dump that you see right here. I'm giving so much game right now if you can keep up. And this is how we ultimately, we know the Qs gets to 900, right? Like we know the Qs makes another leg up, and we know it's going to be very huge because crypto hasn't started going, okay? But hopefully, we need like a big dip or a fast dip to reset a lot of things or some consolidation. Okay, and that'll reset some things. But anyways, I do want to look at a few individual stocks. If stocks start to correct and pull back, Bitcoin will be dumped like crazy. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. The reason being is because Bitcoin wasn't even pumping when the market was pumping. Like Bitcoin was dumping. Bitcoin wasn't doing anything. Bitcoin was weak. Bitcoin has just been sitting here weak. It hasn't done anything. Okay, it's just been weak for the past when we've been pumping on the Q. So I actually think the opposite could happen, where money could start rotating into higher risk assets and quote unquote undervalued sectors. Okay, so that's probably why we're getting the dump on Bitcoin right here, is because the Qs could dump, and then money could rotate into Bitcoin at an amazing price. Okay, but anyways, put in the comments what stocks you guys want to look at. We'll look at them. Somebody said Dell puts. We'll look at Dell puts. Let's look at Dell puts. Somebody said talk. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Dell puts. I can understand why you want Dell puts, because it went like this thing has been going absolutely nuclear. But the thing is, you want to be careful on this thing went down 3% for the day. I mean, it's hard to tell up here, right? Like, of course, a lot of people think if the market dumps, obviously these super ran up stocks like Dell could come down here and dump a whole lot more. But that's a lot of people think like that. So I don't really have an opinion. I don't really have an opinion on Dell right now. Okay, I don't really have an opinion. I was correct on the upside move. It went absolutely crazy. I don't have an opinion on the downside move. I'm not. It doesn't. I just can't see anything. But for UPS, I absolutely love UPS. Okay, we're gonna do it. We're gonna look at a few things on UPS. The first thing is that it needs to break above where it just rejected at, which is around 111. Okay, if it can start breaking above 111, that'll tell you it's ready to make that move to 122. And the thing I like about UPS is that this is a stock that is overlooked, right? Like, this stock it makes $20 billion in revenue, but it's only a $92 billion stock, just because tech has taken over the market, right? So when we're looking at stocks that actually produce revenue, that actually are good, and that are actually trading at a discount price, like COVID prices. This is trading at COVID prices. I absolutely love UPS. Okay, needs to trade above 111 to get that next move to the upside though. But other than that, I love it. You can even say it's creating like a nice little cup and handle. I really like UPS. Okay, so in a market where so many people are looking at RKLB and space stocks and being late on a lot of these things, we want to look where people aren't looking, and so we can be early. Okay, because we're looking at RKLB when it was early. We're looking at Dell when it was early. We're looking at all these tech stocks when it was early. Okay, now it's getting into the I still think they could get up, inch up a little bit more. But now they're getting into the everybody's looking at it. Okay, so I'm glad you said UPS, because I really like UPS, and it looks like it's ready for that next leg to the upside. This thing has been beaten down, but the trend is shifting, the tides are shifting, the market is shifting. Above 111, this thing can start pushing to 120 plus. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Anyways, how are we feeling about crypto? We talked about crypto. I think crypto, this dip is amazing. Like, this is where like, these dumps is where you make this, like, people are scared of red days. People are scared of buying on these red days, but this is where you look back in the next month and you're like, oh my gosh, like, why didn't I buy? Everybody wants to buy on these green days. They're like, oh man, I should have invested. And then it goes down and like, dang, I knew I should have invested. And then it goes back up, So I like crypto. I think crypto is going to have an insane rally. Now, does Bitcoin get back to all-time highs? I don't know. I want to see it cross above 115K before we start talking about that. But yeah, let's look at I eat red days with Wheaties. Dang, my bad. Should I just take Microsoft profits, or will it pump again? I mean, we could look at some TA for Microsoft, right? We look at some TA for Microsoft, and of course, we got a nice pullback. This thing rallied crazy. Okay, so now what we want to look at is where could we possibly dip, and if we look at the swing low from this leg that we just had right here, right? Like this is the leg that we had. It's actually in the buying area. Like, this is actually a dip buy area at 420, 424. Okay, so if I'm looking at Microsoft and I want to sell on a $14 down day, I'd reevaluate because it is in a bounce area. Okay, so I'd be looking at to see what it does at this level right here and see if it can hold above for the next couple weeks. And I don't know what contract you have, but this isn't where this isn't where I'd sell it. Right, this isn't where I'd sell it. And also, if you want another move to the upside, you do need it to start closing above 435. Right, so Microsoft's in an interesting spot. I don't think software is done at all because we look at IGV, right? We come over here and look at IGV, and because I don't think the market is done rallying. Okay, I don't think I think euphoria is only about 75%. Okay, we haven't seen peak euphoria yet. Peak euphoria is not here. It's not here. I don't know how many markets you guys have been in, but it's not here yet. It'll be here, and you'll know. You'll know when it's here. But right now, it's just not here. So we look at IGV, and IGV it hasn't went to all time highs. Software has not went to all time highs, even though this is a chart that tells you it is ultimately going to end up retesting all time highs and maybe even going a bit above there. Okay, so I really like Microsoft, and I think it can continue to push higher. And this dip day was actually a gift. It was a gift. Let's look at some swings. We're trying to find good plays right now. We're looking at some good stuff, man. Now we'll know when we see the excellent play. We'll know. Do you think Tesla will retrace? Let's look at Tesla because my boy keep asking about Tesla, man. Let's look at Tesla. Let's look at Tesla. We'll look at Tesla. But we'll look at Tesla. Tesla is in a very interesting spot, which is I would call this really no man's land. Okay, the reason this is no man's land inside of 413 and 429 is because this is the bounce area from this leg, like the leg that we had right here, from 392 all the way to 445. This is the retracement area for that leg. Okay, so if it could stay in here, then this is chop area, which we've been seeing. This is just a choppy Tesla. But if it could go below 413, that means another leg to the downside is coming. If it could break above 430, that means we're gonna end up retesting the all-time highs. Okay, so I like Tesla. I think Tesla does get to all-time highs. I think we're in a euphoric market, and a euphoric market without Tesla getting all-time highs is unheard of. But this like I said, this is a chop area, and I'm not looking at Tesla inside of this area. I'm looking at it once it starts trading below 414 or above 430 because that's where those big moves start happening. Okay, it actually tried to get above 430 or close above 430, not just trade. It needs to close above 430 on a couple of days. And it even tried today and couldn't. Okay, so kept rejecting. It actually got a big rejection. You could have shorted that move, but I like Tesla. I think it ultimately since the all-time highs. I have a price target to like 600 plus. Okay, you have SpaceX IPO I think coming out next week as well. Or no, maybe in the next 2 weeks, or maybe next week. I'm not sure. I think it's next week. But anyways, did I miss a lot? I don't know if you missed a lot. Been live for about 13 minutes, but the good thing is like these lives are gonna be on YouTube anyways. Have you looked at Zeta? I actually do want to look at Zeta. Will Hood recover? Of course, Hood will recover. Of course, and I love looking at markets on red days versus green days, okay? Because so many people get excited for green days, but the real money's made on red days. And if you've been, if you've been on the live for an extended period of time, you know that. You know that. You know that because if you look at, what calls we got into, most of them are on dip days, like the Iran war, when the market was coming up, not when so many people are talking about it. Okay, but we'll look at Zeta, and Zeta was actually about to break out. Zeta was about to break out, and I actually think Zeta can get a breakout, but this is ultimately, I believe, a software stock, right? So it needs, it needs Microsoft to go crazy for one, and it needs, IGV in the software sector to start catching some bids, and that just wasn't happening today. But anyways, make sure you guys run up the likes on this video, double tap the screen, okay? This is game. This is game, okay? But for Zeta, it needs to hold above where it bounced from. That's for sure. But other than that, the next leg, if it can't hold above there, is the 2080. But the reason I like this one The reason I like this one to the upside is because it's only a $5 billion market cap stock. Okay. Now, of course, we can look at the Roach contracts. We can look at what's it doing tomorrow? What's it doing? What's it doing on Friday? But I like looking at these stocks. What they're gonna do a month or two from now. Okay. And when we're looking at Zeta, this is a prime time chart that, of course, it needs to get above $28. I'm actually going to put a party start level right here because this is where the party starts. This is where the party starts, above 27.50. And by party starts, I mean this is then going to start pushing the all-time highs, 38, and then we can even get, this pushing to 55, $80, okay? Zeta has some very high price targets. Very high price targets, okay? But it needs above 27.55. So that's the main level I'm going to be paying attention to. Whichever happens first. Inside of here, I'm just not interested because you're kind of guessing a little bit, okay? Inside of here, you're kind of guessing. But if it could get to 2070, I think that's a good dip buy area. I think, even here, depending on what contracts you get, like if you're getting some August calls, or September calls for Zeta, like the 30s, like I think those are good because then you can average into that position because we know the market goes higher. We know the market goes higher. It's just a matter of, okay, are we going to come down a little bit? Are things going to cool off a little bit for that next rally to the upside, which I believe the Qs can get to 850, 800-ish, okay? And if you've been following along, our price targets have just been spot on, okay? They've been spot on ever since like 2022. We knew everything was coming, okay? Even the tariff stuff, we knew this was going back to all-time highs. Even the Iran war, we knew it was going back to all-time highs. Now it's just a matter of, okay, are we going to cool off a little bit and play out this bearish divergence that we're seeing right here? Are we going to play out this bearish divergence where this is making higher highs and this is making a lower high? Or are we just going to continue to just, inch upwards? And the good thing about the market right now is that it's a pick me market still, right? So the market could be going down. Like the Qs can be going down, but there's stocks that are getting bid because they're undervalued to, compared to let's just say Nvidia, right? Does that make sense? Like the Qs went down, but Meta went up 4 or 5% today because it's undervalued compared to its co-partners, right? So that's the good thing that's happening with the market right now is that the market could be going down, but there's certain stocks that are undervalued that could be continuing to get bid. What do you think about Apple puts? I love Apple. I actually made a bag on Apple puts today, but I like Apple puts, but it already had a 2% down day, and it reached its price target as well. Like so, like this was the price target that we had at 315. Now I'm not gonna look at it for like this is something that I look at on a daily time frame to short because I do believe Apple can end up pushing almost 360 to be honest with you. So I'm not that interested in looking at puts currently. Okay, I like puts, but that's something that I want to catch like on a daily time frame. Like I want to look at tomorrow morning. But I'm not coming in here saying like I be leading you guys astray. Just like if I don't like leading people astray, and by leading astray I mean oh yeah let's look at some puts man. This thing gonna dump to 285. And it could, like it very well could, but like man. And this thing had extreme bear divergence. Okay, extreme. You look at this, extreme bear divergence. When this was making a new high, you see the higher high, and this actually made a lower high. Exhaustion, extreme exhaustion. So I'm not bullish, but in a market that I know goes higher, I just can't come on here and say let's get some puts and go like we about to crash, and a crash is gonna happen, right? And we'll talk about it, but I just know the market right now is bull. Is bull. NVTS higher. I'd say yes. I'd say yes, it's going higher. And I'm actually so mad because we're looking at NTS. And these fibs are perfect, by the way. If you're looking at NTS and you knew once this got above the party start level, which was right here, this is where the party starts. All right. Party starts. It actually hit its price target at the 1.618 right here. The next price target that it has is to $55 and even $75, which I think it hits because this is only a $7 billion market cap stock that I actually think didn't they just get like something with Nvidia going. So that's what I mean. There's stocks that are gonna end up cooking up. There's stocks that are gonna end up, going higher. This had the highest volume day that it's ever had, but 34.55 is the level that it needs to start climbing above to start getting to 55 and even maybe even 70. So I think NVTS goes higher. Like I said, we're in a euphoric market. The euphoria is going to continue and continue and continue to play out until I say so. Now, just kidding. Until some things break, and we'll talk about that. But right now, just yes, I think NVTS goes higher. Any hope left for ONDS? Let's go ONDS. Yes. First of all, let me show you ONDS. Oh my gosh, I can't believe they're rinsing people. They're rinsing the latecomers, man. The latecomers. If you're late, you're gonna end up paying, okay? And that's why it pays to stick in the market. Right? It pays to stick in the market. It pays to be early. It pays to follow people that know what they're talking about. We've been on here knowing what we're talking about for a very long time. But ONDS goes higher, okay? Just don't get roach contracts. Just don't get any roachlies, okay? And the reason it's going higher, you have huge weekly hidden bull divergence, okay? Just huge weekly hidden bull divergence that is playing out on this entire leg. So I actually think ONDS goes, like I said, to $25. But first, it has to get out the people who are getting roach contracts, who can't really buy. Like they're trying to get rich by June 5th. They're trying to get the weekly contract June 5th. They're gonna make a 15% move on Thursday. It's gonna make a 50% move on Thursday and get the $25 and no. Okay. So I'd be looking at it at $11. Bounce area is $11. Bounce area is $11. I have a price target on this $25. It's consolidating at this is literally consolidating at the level that it needs to be consolidating at for that next leg to the upside. So as long as it can stay above $11, there's no reason to be bearish on something like ONDS when it has price targets to $25. It's only $5 billion market cap. I like it. Now, is it my favorite? No. It's a retail stock. Exactly. There you go. This is a retail. This is a prime time retail stock. That means prime time retail stock. Marvel. I'm not gonna look at Marvel. Marvel is gone. What's your strategy on dollar cost averaging? It depends. Like I said, if you got the August ONDS calls for $15 and you bought them today and it goes down, you're able to average into those because the market is going to end up trending to the upside. Okay, we're in a euphoric market. Okay, and as long as it stays above these certain price targets, then you can continue. So if let's say I had $1,000 and the ONDS contract cost me $50 each, I would only put in like $300 to start with. Okay, and a lot of people, they put in their whole $1,000 to start with, and you have no room to average down. So if you're in the Discord, I always talk about I'm going light. I'm going light here because I want to build a position into these things. Or I'm going light because like why go heavy? Like there's no reason to be super greedy on some of these things, especially when we're at all-time highs, and especially when the sector that AMD, like these sectors reveal themselves, okay? And you either want to be early, okay, or you want to be on the dip side, like you wait for the first dip or something like that. If you're not either one and you're going just heavy like up here, like you're just willy-nilly doing that, it's kind of you're gambling a little bit. But if you look at AMD, I think this is going to end up being $1 trillion stock. Okay, it's already at $885 billion. This is $1 trillion stock. Kind of like how we knew MU was going to be $1 trillion stock back when it was $300. Okay, AMD is $1 trillion stock. MU, god dang. Anyway, let's look at a few more stocks. Marvel is going to crash. I don't know. I do want to look at Poet. Poet is interesting. Poet is very interesting, and it kind of ties in with Marvel, right? They almost had some Marvel partnerships, but I guess they backed out because something like that. Poet needs above $17.16. The thing I love about Poet, okay, I'm gonna teach you guys this, and then I'm gonna get out of here, okay? I'm gonna teach you guys this. Like some people want to know when some good entries are. When is a good entry? You draw the fib from the swing low to the swing high, like you have right here, and you're able to see where a good entry is, which was right here. Okay, none of this was here. Okay, I just drew it from here. You could have came over here and been like, okay, this thing's taking off, but I want a good entry. You could just draw from here. Okay, and this is where it entered at. So it needs to stay above $12, and it also needs to get above $17 before it can start getting to 20. Back to all-time highs, etc. And when this thing's back to all-time highs, was this actually out in 20? Oh my gosh, this thing was out in 08. Dang. I love Poet, by the way. And it just needs to have some monthly close above $16. That's when the party, or $17. And as you can see, it has not done that yet. But maybe this week is different. I love Poet because the price, like, it's cheap. What is this, $2 billion market cap stock? These are the stocks I kind of want to focus on in this late end of the bull run, because you've missed the Nvidias, you've missed the MUs, you've missed the Dells, you've missed the Marvel, like you missed a lot of these stocks, but it could be made up by looking at these higher risk assets, which is where money's going to end up rotating, right? People are pulling their money out of Nvidia. Nvidia is trillions of dollars. You know how much $1 trillion is? It's a thousand billions to get to 1 trillion. So if you take out just one of those billions, and put it in a Poet, it's now 999 billion, and Poet goes up, almost doubles in price. Okay, so that's where the opportunity lies currently, in my opinion. Um, so when we're looking at something like Poet, and Poet has price targets of 41, 60, 60, 92. Another thing is like AOSL, which is a semiconductor, a $1.5 billion market cap, and this thing's trading at $50. That all that, like, this thing could just go to $3 billion, and it's trading at $150, and currently it's $50. Do you understand? So that to me is where the opportunity lies in this late cycle. Okay, so if you feel like you're late, you're probably late to a lot of the Mag 7, but you're not late to these baby caps, to these smaller caps. Okay, like Wolf is another one, $3 billion market cap. You understand? NXTI. I think you mean NXPI, because I love NXPI. I love NXPI. NXPI, that's another one. That's what I mean. Okay, and I'm glad that, like, I'm staying alive a little bit longer today, because this the thoughts just come out. You know what I'm saying? If you look at NXPI, NXPI is an amazing one. It's a semiconductor, edge AI architecture for robotics. Low latency, low price. Like, they do a lot of stuff. Okay, industry partnerships coming in. But if you look at this, okay, if you come over here and look at this thing has not broken out in 4 or 5 years, okay, but now it's actually breaking out currently. And there's a lot of charts that look like this, by the way, that are way up here. So when you look at NXPI, it has a price target of 385 and 434. You can be early on something like this. You can be early on something like, well, STEM. We already kind of made a bunch of money on STEM, but STEM is only a $70 billion market cap stock, and they make semiconductors for SpaceX. And people don't know that, okay? We actually made a whole bunch we made over 500, 600% on STM, okay? But the price target is to 116 because it is now broken out from its 2000 bubble high. Okay? It's 2000 bubble high. It's broken out. It's in price discovery. It's going to 116, maybe even 187. Okay? So I think this is where the opportunity lies, in these smaller semiconductors and smaller higher risk assets, even in Bitcoin to some degree, right? Um, but anyways, if you're not in Discord, check out the link in the bio, and we'll get you right. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the live. I hope you got something from it. It was kind of all over the place a little bit, um, but just a lot to be looking at currently. Okay, just a lot to be looking at. A whole bunch of money to still be made in the market. A whole bunch of money. All right. Anyways, You guys have a great rest of your night, and I'll talk to you guys later, man. I'm out. Peace.